So Konami made a new deck list, and it so happens to be Mikanko Evil Eyes. By the way, I'll say this, the fact that Konami actually released Mikanko Evil Eyes actually means that someone Konami likes the archetype, and there is a pretty nice chance that they will actually post or print more support for Evil Eyes. And I love it. But let's talk about it, or I'll talk about it. For one, I'll say this, the ratios actually work out pretty well. This is basically the same ratio I had in my version 2, except for the ice ratio. I actually ran 1 Selene and 3 Gorgoneio. And I'll say it, the deck list for the main deck specifically actually works out pretty well. The lack of hand traps is actually one of the ballsiest moves they did. You could actually replace the traps for hand traps, and you could actually replace a few cards here for other options. But if I were to say if this deck works or not, it works fairly well. What doesn't work pretty well though is the extra deck lineup. The Evil Eyes and the Sheridan actually are fair. Same with the Gaia and the Zeus if you're going there, but these 5 cards don't really fit. For example, Donor over there doesn't really work for Evil Eyes, and Kshatrila is very situational. Obviously, they're probably used for pot fodder, but if you're using pot fodder for a deck that can access the extra deck, you should at least make it so they are at least usable when they're not fodder down. Now, to speak about Donor, here's its effect. You can target 1 for higher monster control or monster opponent control, destroy them. You can tribute 1 monster, special summon 1 for higher from your hand or graveyard with a different original name that tribute a monster. Then yada yada yada, you tribute a link monster, you can special 1 more such monster, and you can only use 1 donor dagger for higher effect once per turn, only once that turn. The assumption that they're making is that you're going to tribute your link monsters, but that's not a good idea. For one, as much as you'd think, Evil Eyes don't really have a good way to access their link monsters. In fact, I would say that I would just drop Donor and just go for Octo Bypass or Cicada. Those two are much better cards compared to Donor, and you can actually use them, which makes it pretty fair to utilize. One weird addition is actually the new Kshatrila monster. Though the situation where this will come up is, for example, your opponent summons a Kshatrila monster. You summon Mikanko Ohime. Mikanko Hime triggers, and you equip Invite Rondo, and then from that, you'll link that Shatrula into the link, into the Xyz monster, which is fair, I suppose. But it is extremely situational, and while it's fair for pot fodder, obviously better options should be utilized. As for which deck list would be better, I personally don't prefer this type, and I prefer this type of deck list because, for one, you're able to use the full strength of Evil Eyes, and Mikanko, from experience, tends to work better as an engine compared to an actual deck space to utilize. So, because Evil Eye is very compact, you can actually remove a few pieces to fit in Mikanko, and it wouldn't affect your strategy as much. And in the case that it does, you can always side out cards that don't work in favor of cards that actually work. So, if anything, while the deck granted by Konami is usable, it's not terrible, but my personal preferences would say that something like this works a bit better than what Konami has to offer.